Tripping with Theobold.
Come on, Dre.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Tripping with Theobold. I'm your host, Andre Theobold. Welcome to the show. My bad, I'm a little late, man. Had some technical difficulties, but we here. Hey, man, shout out to my cuz E hauling it in the chat, man. Going off in the chat, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Look, as soon as I figure out, like, there's a lot of moving pieces to this, like live streaming stuff, man. So once I figure out how to do it, man, and we get a format down, I'll have you on the show. But yeah, you know what I'm tripping on today? Pardon me, it is kind of hot out here, so I might be a little, you know, sweaty and shit or whatever. Or can I cuss yet? Yeah, kind of. Okay, whatever. But yeah, man, you know what I'm tripping on today? I said, do you know what I'm tripping on today, man? Today I'm tripping on, you know, when I was younger, I thought that fitting in was the goal. But now that I'm older, fitting in would have been the worst thing that could have ever happened to me, man. And we're going to take a journey. And today I'm going to talk about what it's like being an outsider amongst outsiders. Man, I am up here sweating. I'm up here sweating in Theobold Studios, man. But anyways, yeah. Yeah, so where am I gonna start off, man? Like, so, man, I've been an outsider my whole life. Man, this is getting bad. I hope I don't. I'm looking like I'm in court testifying right now. Name is hot in this motherfucker. All right. We gonna do it. We gonna make it do what it do. Whatever. Nah, man, I want to talk about what it's like being an outsider, man. An outsider amongst outsiders, right? So let me start this journey back. Let me see. I'm gonna start this journey back when I was in Montessori school. You know what I'm saying? So if you already know, if you went to Montessori school, you already are an outsider. A lot of people have like a thing where they make a thing about, you know, going to Montessori school, you know? And yeah, I went to this Montessori school, you know, a lot of nice people, by the way, a lot of, you know, good memories, you know, and yeah, I was like one of the only few black kids in this Montessori school. And here's how you know, like, you went to a school where you were like in the minority, right? Like, look, I remember, like, to this day, like, this is like, I'm talking kindergarten through third grade. I remember all of the black kids' names in my school that I went to school with. You know what I'm saying? And we all didn't go to school like at the same time. It was like everything was staggered, you know? So like you had maybe one or two like per grade, maybe three, you know? But it was like five of us, man, during the time I went there from like kindergarten through third grade. It was me, it was Michael Wills, who was a year older than me or a grade above me. Then there was this dude named Keenan. Keenan was like 2 grades behind me. Then there was Elizabeth McGruble or something like that. And she was, I think, a year behind me at one point. And then who was the other one? Oh yeah, Chris Hubbard, right? And Chris Hubbard was like, I think, a year behind me, right? So we all were kind of like staggered throughout our experience or whatever at this Montessori school, man. And you know, I had a lot of friends. I played with people and stuff, but it was like, you know, like we were in the minority. You know what I'm saying? But now, man, I remember in Montessori school, man. And so look, I'm about to say some like real shit. So I mean, you know, buckle up, buckle in, you know. You know, this is just what it is, you know. Hey, what's up, babe? How you doing? That's my girl in the chat. Real quick, let me say what's up to her. There we go. But now I'm about to say some real shit. Right quick, man. So when I was in Montessori school, man, we had this I went to school with this one dude. His name was Paul Bosniak, right? So if you guys know anything about so the fact that I remember this dude's full name lets you know that I'm about to say some shit. But whatever. So Paul was Paul was a young racist. I'll put it to you like that. All right. Now teachers that went to school or teachers that had Paul during this time period, they would totally disagree with me because Paul was a little angel, you know. Like they knew he was kind of bad, but they didn't know how bad he was. You know, Paul was slick with his racism. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm appreciative of my journey, man, because I got to see racism up close early, and I didn't even know what I was seeing, right? So let me go ahead and break this down, right? So when I was in this school, I learned what the word nigga meant before I even I was called a nigga before I even knew what the shit meant. You know what I'm saying? And I remember the first time I met Paul on the playground, you know, it was he was all innocent and shit. He came up to me and he was like, hey nigger, you want to come play? I was like, yeah, I want to play, but my name's not nigger, my name is Andre. He was like, okay, whatever, nigger. I was like, okay. So I'm outside playing with Paul and all these other people thinking everything is cool. And one day, man, we were playing freeze tag, right? And we had to and the forts were home base, you know? And I remember I was running away from the person that was it, or the person that was trying to tag people out. And I remember, man, I ran I did my damnedest to get away from the person that was it. And then I climbed up into the fort, right? I tried to, because the fort was home base. So I tried to climb up in the fort, and Paul was blocking the entrance to the fort because it was a thing you had to kind of climb up in. And then Paul basically was blocking my entrance or whatever, and his voice changed, and he was like, no niggers in the fort. And I was like, fuck. I'm like, nah, man, move. I'm trying to be safe, you know. So I climbed up in the fort, and he said, I said, no niggers in the fort. And then I climbed up in the joint, and I looked around and saw all these white kids in the fort, and I went, oh, and that's when I found out, okay, this is the game he playing, right? So I was like, okay, motherfucker was slick. And then I remember in class, we had this thing where they would pass around the globe, right? And basically you spin the globe or whatever it is, and you had to point to a country, and you had to say your favorite country, right? And multiple times in class, man, Paul's favorite country was Niger, you know? And he would always spin the globe and then look, and then he would spin it slow and then point slow, and then he would look at me and say, nigger. And the teacher would be like, oh no, Paul, no, that's not how we say it. And he'd be like, oh, how do we say it? How do we say it? He'd be like, and they'd be like, oh, Paul, it's Niger. Oh, Niger. Right? So Paul was slick with that shit. Yeah, exactly. That was taught behavior. Exactly. So Paul knew what he was doing, man, at a young age, man. He knew, and that kind of let me know early on. So like I said, I'm grateful for my experience, with that, because I got to see what the shit was up front, I got to see, how people gaslight people and doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? And and he knew not to do it around the teachers, right? He knew not to do it around the teachers. He knew to be covert with that shit, So Yeah, shout out to Paul Bosniak, man, for for his racist ways. And then um there was I forgot there was one chick in our class, man. I forget her name, man. This is like in second grade, I think. See, I remember way too much shit. I remember way too much shit, man. But anyways, there was a girl in our class. Her name was either Megan or something like that. I can't remember her name, but for some reason she was a big John Elway fan, man. She loved John Elway, and she just talked real slow. Like, she had a real she just talked real slow, but she was nice. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she would play with me and some of the other kids at recess and shit. And I can't remember if it was my birthday or what. It may have been my birthday. I don't want to I don't want to mess up any of the facts. But that's not the gist of the story, right? That's not important to the story. Um, it was lunchtime and she was either passing out. We were I think they were either passing out cupcakes or they were passing out ice cream. And uh I think it was ice cream. For the sake for whatever it is, it was ice cream, whatever, right? And her job, it was her responsibility to like pass out like the ice cream because they would like take turns with kids passing stuff out, because they wanted us to get used to serving other people and stuff, right? So at the time in this class, I was like the only like black kid in my class. Um, and she gave me the chocolate ice cream, and she gave all the other white kids like vanilla ice cream. And I forgot who it was, but one of the kids in the class jumped up and said, "Hey, why does he said he was like, hey, why does Andre only get a chocolate ice cream? I want chocolate." And then Miss Thomas, our teacher, saw what was going on, and she was like, "Oh." And then she grabbed the girl and pulled her aside and kind of like scolded her. And then the girl turned red in the face, and then she asked people what they wanted and gave what type of ice cream they wanted. And then she apologized to me. And she was sincere. Like, she was like, face was red. She was kind of crying. And really, like, I didn't really pay it any mind because like me, I wanted chocolate ice cream. That's what I wanted. But I wasn't like paying attention to what everyone else had, you know what I'm saying? But it was like, little things like that where it was like, oh, I look back, like I'm an outsider amongst outsiders. Um, but last one quick story, one last story from my Montessori's days. Um, there was yeah, we had yeah, so my first bully was a girl, right? I got bullied by a girl when I was in Montessori school. Her name was Victoria Spencer. Victoria, if you watching, this one's for you, bitch. Victoria Spencer, man. Man, she was mean, man. I mean, all the teachers liked her. She kind of like reminded you of like a Max from Stranger Things. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, but this girl, like Victoria, had dark hair and she had blue eyes, like piercing blue eyes. And she was like the darling of the class, right? She was the darling of all, the teachers or whatever. Um, and she was like real unapologetic. She was loud. She was in people's face. She was kind of like tomboyish, and she would like. I remember she would like chew her hair and shit. Like, she would chew her hair, and like her and Paul were like best buds. But I remember one time at recess, man. Nigga, I was minding my own business, man. I was playing by myself. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me, but I was playing squirrel by myself at recess, man. I was on the bench and I was just collecting acorns and I was collecting rocks and little pebbles and shit, and I was just minding my own business. You know what I'm saying? And Victoria came along, and then whatever she was doing with her friends, like, must not have been important because she came over and whatever I was doing was just like either pissing her off or she had to come and make a point to come and just fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? So she came all the way over to where I was at, and she was like, "What are you doing? This is stupid. What are you doing?" And she took all my acorns and rocks and just like slapped them off the bench. And nigga, I bit that bitch like a squirrel, nigga. I was like, ah. bit the shit out that bitch. And then she went off crying, told the teacher, and then I got a note sent home, and my dad picked me up from school that day, and it was late, and then they like gave him the note. Matter of fact, I think they even talked to him when he came to pick me up. And my mom wasn't home. I think my mom was working that night or something. But then my dad read the note, and I thought I was gonna get a whooping, but I was surprised. My dad was like, he was like, "Gee, what happened?" I was like, "Man, I was minding my business, and she came over and just took all my rocks and threw them over the fence." And my dad said, "If she do it again, bite her again." He said, "Do it again." I was like, "I bet." But ever since that day, she left me the fuck alone. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to old school bullying, man. Because when you got bullied, man, as a kid, once you like stood your ground when you were getting bullied, Joe, like once you stood your ground when you were getting bullied, bullies like would leave you the fuck alone. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, yeah. So, you know, that was probably like my first case of being the outsider amongst outsiders. Um, Now, let's see, fourth grade through high school, right? So fourth grade through high school, I went to a Seventh-day Adventist middle school and high school. So if you don't know what Seventh-day Adventism is, basically, it's a religion that believes that since God rested on the seventh day after creation, we all got to rest. You know, and that's what their like belief is built around, right? So my school was vegetarian, so they didn't eat meat, so we had like a lot of soy products for lunch. So from and the reason why I went to a 7-day Adventist school was because like my folks wanted me to go to med school, and this was supposed to be like the inside track to getting into med school because from a young age they were like, yo, we want you to go to Loma Linda, we want you to like they had everything mapped out or whatever, right? And this was supposed to be the best path to get to med school the quickest, you know. So anyways, I went to the 7-day Adventist middle school and high school, and I ain't really have any bullies in this school. But one thing I noticed, right? Look, first of all, they knew, how should I put this? Like I'm not 7-day Adventist, and they knew I wasn't gonna convert to be 7-day Adventist. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't going to their church unless I had to go, right? If I like the only time I went to church on Saturday was if I was in choir, if we had a choir performance or if we had like band, cause I was in band in high school. So like if we had a performance, that's the only time I went to church. But other than that, I ain't do none of that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? No disrespect, but I just didn't do it. Um, but the one thing I noticed was, and this is, I'm not trying to like, I don't know. Hold on, let me get a sip of this tea right quick. But here's the thing, right? I'm not trying to like, look, this is me just telling the truth, right? This is me just telling the truth, man. But when I was in the 7-day Adventist school, the one thing I found out, or the one thing I peeped was the behavior was weird, right? Like the one thing that was weird was like people got nicer towards the end of the week. You know what I'm saying? So like, so with the Sabbath, you know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday, right? So in the beginning of the week, if somebody was a piece of shit in the beginning of the week, come Friday, they would be nicer, right? Or they would be on this, um, corny shit. You know what I'm saying? They'd be on this um holier than now type shit. You know what I'm saying? So that to me was kind of corny. You know what I'm saying? And I saw and it was weird. It was like subtle, but I kind of picked up on that, and I was just like, So for a long time from fourth grade all the way through high school, like that was just the behavior, right? It was like if somebody was being extra on Monday, come Friday, they were gonna be nicer, and it was just like clockwork. Um, but one thing I noticed about um uh being in this school, was here's the thing, right? After school, I didn't really hang out with people like that because it could have been for one or two reasons. Right? One, I lived all the way in Laurel, and the school I went to was in Tacoma Park. So in traffic, it could take like 30 to like 40 minutes to get to school in the morning. But it really wasn't that like far, but because of traffic, it could take a longer time to get to school. But it was like everyone kind of like hung out after school. So like if people were doing stuff after class, they would kind of all have plans and they would all kind of go do their thing. And I was kind of like the odd man out. You know what I'm saying? So it was weird. It was like cuz I was on the basketball team, I was on the track team, I was the captain of the track team, but it was like um they did their thing and I took my ass home, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, um, but what I learned from that school, for the most part, just from a social standpoint, what I learned is, you know, like I learned how like religion can like have an effect on the masses, like there was no special meeting, there was no special like behavior of, hey, we're going to be nicer on Friday. It was kind of just, learned behavior. That's what it was. It was just they just learned it, and it kind of was like they just kind of got on code with that, you know. So um now let's go ahead and get into college, man. So I meant to do this before I got on, right? But don't quote me on this, but I think I'm pretty like spot on. So my high school, right? My high school total student body size was like it was probably around 350 people, right? It may have been less than that. And my graduating class was like it's like 70, maybe 70 people, I think. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta think that's very small for a high school. Um, so my dumbass wanted to go to a big university. So I went to a major university, student body size of 20,000 people, so I already was like, an outsider amongst outsiders for real in this joint when I went to college. Like it was just so, but I'm glad I went because it was like I had to get used to the real world, you know? Like you can't really grow when you're in an institution of a small number of people and you have a bubble around you. Like you got to get out and get in this real world. You know what I mean? Um, so oh yeah, AT is where it's at on most forms of social media. So make sure you follow me. Um, but nah, so in college, like I said, I was an outsider amongst outsiders, you know what I'm saying? Um, so I tried to walk onto the football team. All right, I went to a D1 college. At the time when I went, my school was in the at the time I went, my school was in the Big East, so my school played against, Michael Vick. We played against man, you played against who else we played? We played against um man, like Clinton Portis, went to the U. We played against um Larry Fitzgerald, who went to Pitt, so we played against like big, like I was trying to make it to the NFL, man. So um I was trying to walk onto this football team, and yeah, when you a walk on, man, that shit is. I did a video on that already, man. But when you a walk on, man, that shit is, um, yeah, that shit is rough, yo. Because like the coaches, they done did they scouting, and when these coaches go out to these parents, like they make these promises to these parents about, taking after they or looking after their kid and making sure their kid has the best shot to go to the NFL. And then here your ass come along trying to be Rudy and shit. And then they're like anxious because they never seen you before. So you might outperform who they recruited. And then they might get pressure from the top to actually cut who they recruited and who they made promises to. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't. like get all that. I just thought, shit, it's my turn. I just thought, hey, if I thought it was an equal opportunity, but it wasn't. So when you walk onto a team, especially like college, like football, competitive D1 football, um, yeah, you're gonna like go through a lot of shit. A shout out to my teammates, man, because my teammates were dope. My teammates, um, it was a pleasant surprise, man. Like the thing I learned from my teammates was, you know, and it can be applied to comedy, but it's not. Like people in the comedy scene don't practice this shit. But when I was on the D1 football team, or when I was walking on, the players wanted, like, we were competing with each other in practice, and we were making each other better. But the underlying theme was we wanted the best we wanted the best representative for our group to get in the game. So I was in the wide receiver group, and it was like 11 of us. No, I was in the backs and receivers group, and it was maybe like 11 to like 15 of us, but we all wanted the best person to represent us on the field on Saturday. But anyways, um the coaches though, man, I have like I have very little respect for them coaches that I went to school with there. The one coach I have respect for was Coach Rapone. Like Coach Rapone was probably like the one dude that I respected because whenever I saw him outside of practice, he always asked like how I was doing in school. You know what I'm saying? And even when I wasn't on the team, he still remembered who I was. You know what I'm saying? But all the other coaches, man, yeah, man, no bueno. You know, but Nah, the coaches, man, I remember when I walked onto the team, like the players that were on scholarship, nigga, their playbooks were like this thick. Like them joints look like the holy scriptures with the apocrypha. You know what I'm saying? Like their playbooks were like this. Nigga, my shit looked like a goddamn Watchtower pamphlet. Like my shit was like this. You know what I'm saying? And the players were looking at me like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, yo, this is the playbook. They were like, nigga, this ain't no goddamn playbook, nigga. Fuck is this shit? Man, that playbook was skinny than the motherfucker, man. And I still knew more of the plays than all the players on the team. like, yeah, they used to call me Coach Andre in the meeting because I knew the plays, I knew the formations and shit. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, let me go and cut to the chase. I'm not trying to spend the whole time talking about my walk-on experience. But long story short, I got cut from the football team, man. And the way they cut me was on some bullshit, Like like the way I got cut was they made me retry out. So I should have known something was up, right? They made me retry out with all these new cats that were coming in. They were bigger or whatever, but I was busting their ass in all the drills. You know what I'm saying? Like I was fast, you know what I'm saying? So I was busting their ass in the drills. I was first in all the drills. And we were supposed to get like 3 days to try out. So we tried out for 2 days. And then on the third day, it like flurried or it started snowing. And then they canceled it. So I'm just thinking, okay, cool. I'm gonna go back to my locker and shit. And I'm just gonna go and continue practicing. Man, when I came back to my room, and I wish I had this voicemail on my phone to this day, but I think I deleted it. But looked at my answering machine joint, my little voice message joint, and I saw the red light blinking, and it was Coach Hager, and he basically was like, he was like, I pushed play on the message, and he was like, Andre, Rocky Hager here. You are no longer a member of the football team. So don't come by the facility. We think it's best that you focus on your studies and goodbye. Right? It was something like that, right? When tears welled up in my eyes, man, I was like, yo, that shit hurt in the motherfucker, man, because I just saw my NFL dream like leaving, right? Because all I wanted to do was play in the NFL when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? So I called his phone and he wouldn't pick up, but I knew that motherfucker was there at his desk. So I called that nigga like 11 times, yo. I'm just calling and calling. And he finally picked up. And I was like sobbing, man. And I was like, yo, man, y'all can't do this. You know, I'm like, y'all never got my 40 time. Like, I just timed myself last week. I'm running a 4.344 to 40 in sweatpants. You know, I said, look, line me up against the top recruits. If I lose, if I don't come in first, then cut me, right? But don't just cut me because y'all haven't really seen me. And he just kept saying, Andre, you're done. You know? So like for a couple days, yo, like I didn't eat, yo. Like I just couldn't eat, man, because I was like so distraught. And this was the funny part, right? This is the part where, you know, this is like me being an outsider amongst this is how like I was an outsider amongst outsiders, right? So I used to eat with the football team, because I was on the team, right? So I was a walk-on, but I would eat with the football players in the cafeteria, you know, because we all ate together and shit. And people saw, like, they saw my face, like they knew something was wrong, because like, you know, my eyes were like sunken in, man, and you could tell I was going through it. And I forgot who it was, but we're sitting at the cafeteria in the lunch table. They're like, Dre, what's wrong, man? I was like, man, I got cut, you know? And one dude on the team was like, oh, they cut niggas? That was his response, right? Because look, our football team was bad, man. Like, we probably, like, when I was there, we probably won like 4 games the whole time I was there. You know what I'm saying? So the team was that bad, right? Like, we were like, there were times when we only won 1 game in the season or 2 games, maybe 3, but we didn't win more than 3 games we never won more than 3 games in a season when I was there. Like, the shit was bad. Like, I remember the school, like the first game, people would like show up to the games, but then after we got blown out, like they would try to give tickets. Like, they couldn't give tickets away for students to go to the games, man. They used to have buses pull up in front of the dorms, and you get on the bus, and they would just have a whole stack of like game day tickets, and they would just be passing them out to get students to go to the games. And students were like, nah, I'm just trying to get a ride down to get the subway down. Like, they weren't even going to the games. That's how bad our team was, yo. These niggas would get on the bus and get tickets, and then they would be like, yeah, nah, I'm trying to just get dropped off at the it was basically like it was like a free shuttle ride to get to like the subway station so you can go downtown or whatever, you know? Man, that shit was hilarious. But like I said, the team was so bad, one of the players' responses was like, damn, they cut niggas? And I was like, yo. So anyways, yeah, that, you know, definitely made me feel like an outsider amongst outsiders, you know? But like I said, I wouldn't trade my walk-on experience for the world, man, because I learned a lot about um like football coaches and just D1 football programs and how full of shit coaches are, or like how full of shit they can be. Like, a lot of these football coaches and shit that you see on TV, these motherfuckers is just like these damn politicians, man. Like, they'll sit up here and they're camera friendly, they present nice, they present friendly, but away from the camera, man, a lot of these dudes is like pieces of shit. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's why now I'm glad I went through that experience, because I know how these coaches are. So I see coaches on TV, like, for example, like I remember when I was young growing up, like, you had coaches like Dick Vermeil, who you know, coached like the Rams, and you know, like, Dick Vermeil was known for like crying on camera, like he was really emotional. So when you saw him on TV, like, you connected with Dick Vermeil, and you know, hey, he was like, you felt like you knew him. But off the camera, you don't know. I'm not looking to say I don't know Dick Vermeil, but it wouldn't shock me if he was a piece of shit too behind the camera, right? Like I said, I have like little respect for coaches and like personnel in the NFL and like college football after what I saw. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not saying everyone's like that, but I'm not surprised by that, because in my mind, like, I couldn't fathom that someone could be different on TV versus, you know, in person. You know what I mean? So anyways, I got cut from the football team, and then, you know, I was like, man, let me go ahead and try this track dream out, right? So I ran track in college. So, then I joined the track team. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew a few people on the team or whatever, and joined or whatever. And I knew I was like fast for like short distances. So I was trying to make it to NCAA's. I was trying to whatever. Yeah, I was trying to make it to NCAA's, and you know like most of the track team, like I said, was cool. Like I'm still friends with some of the track. I wouldn't say friends, but there's some people that like I'll talk to like on Instagram or whatever briefly. Like we'll like reminisce or they'll comment on something, or I'll comment on their page or whatever. But but our track team, uh, how should I put this? Yeah, our track team, man. So like I wasn't on scholarship, right? But pretty much everybody else was on scholarship. So I was trying to get a scholarship, and I was trying to like make it to NCAA's, and I had, like I said, I was trying to relive or reopen my Olympic dream of running in the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? So, I was like, let me go ahead and scratch this itch. You know what I'm saying? So, I remember the first captain that was on our team. I'm not gonna name names because I'm not trying to like the names aren't important. But the lesson is, with the exception of the Montessori people that I mentioned before. But now when I was in on the track team, we had when I joined, there was one captain that was a senior, and he was getting ready to like leave or graduate. Um, and then the next year, it was another captain. He was cool. Um, I'll go and shout him out, man. Shout out Otis, man. Old Boogie, my man Otis, man. He was a dope captain, man. And then after that was another captain, right? So the first captain and the third captains, right? Like they kind of said some fuck shit to let me know that I was an outsider amongst them. Um, like the first captain, um, I remember, here it is, right? On a track team, man, we would get up, like practices were at 5 a.m. So you had to be you had to be in McGonigal Hall at 5 a.m. on the bleachers, and if you were late, the coach would do some fucked up shit. Like what the coach would do is like if he did attendance and if you weren't there, he would let you practice. But if you missed a practice, you couldn't go to the meet like that weekend. So so that shit was fucked up, man, because he would go around, he'd be like, so and so, they'd be like, here, so and so, late. And he would be real quiet about it. And then so and so would come in and they would practice, like they would practice the whole practice. And then when it was time to get gym bags on Friday, the coach would be like, okay, here's who's going to the meet. And he would list all the names off. And if you didn't hear your name, you weren't going. And they'd be like, man, how come I can't go, coach? Well, how come I can't go to the meet? He said, because you were late. No, I wasn't. I practiced. Not here, you're late. And our coach had this saying, like basically when he was done arguing with you, he would go, like when he was done arguing with you, he would say, bye, see you, wouldn't want to be you. That was like his saying. Like, yeah, I remember when we had this one guy on our team, I think he was a long jumper. And this was like the last, like he was a senior and this was like the last day to qualify for NCAA's, right? And he made practice all week. Like he made it on time all week. And the bus was like the bus was getting ready to like pull off, right? Like we're all on the bus on Saturday morning, get ready to go to this track meet. And I think he had an exam or a project or something, and like he overslept, right? But he got up, and this dude was like a minute late, right? So the bus started pulling off, and we see this guy running, and he has his bag on. He's running behind the bus, and he's like, "No, wait, 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 wait!" Man, our coach was an asshole, man. He stopped the bus, and he opened the doors. Doors opened up, And the guy, he's like, "Hey, coach, yeah, man, I had to get this project done last night. Sorry, man, it won't happen again, yada, yada, yada." And the coach said, "Yeah, I know it won't happen again." He said, "Yeah, coach, just let me on." He's like, "No, I can't do that." He's like, "You're not going." He's like, "No, coach, don't do this to me. This is the last day I have to qualify for NCAAs. You can't do this, coach. Please, coach, please." And he said, "Please, coach, just let me come on, coach. Please, please, coach." And all you heard was, "Bye, see you, wouldn't want to be you." And the fucking bus pulled off. And then I felt bad, man. It hurt. I mean, looking back, this shit was funny, but at the time, man, that shit was crazy, man. Bus pulled off when we're driving off, and then in the background, you see this dude take his bag, and this nigga shot put his shit, this nigga hammered through his shit across the street. Like, he took the bag and just threw that shit across the street. It was like, fuck. Anyways, that was just a story I had to go back and bring back. I forgot about that story. But nah, man, we had the first captain I was under when I was on the track team, when I first joined. Like, he did some shit to let me know that I was an outsider, you know? Like, after practice in the morning, you know, we all used to go to breakfast, you know what I'm saying? So we had 5 a.m. practice, you know, we're like dog tired, you know, it's like 7 o'clock by the time we get to the cafeteria, you know, and we eat at our table and stuff. And this captain or whatever, no, someone came. So basically, there was an outsider, or there was a non-track club or a non-track team person that came by, and they walked by, and they were like, "Yo, is this the track team?" And the captain made it a point to be like, "Yeah, this is the track team, but yeah, we're all on the track team, but Andre's not really on the team. You know, he's a walk-on. He just likes to run." I'm like, thinking to myself, nigga, I'm like, I get up and run with y'all niggas. Like, what the fuck you talking about? Right? I didn't say nothing, but I was like, you know, but that little thing he said made me like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, here it is, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm running and sweating with y'all every fucking morning. And I'm on the team, but I'm not on the team. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, that made me kind of feel fucked up, but it made me like pay attention, and it made me pay attention to like just how people perceive you, and it helped me kind of like to always be on my guard, or to keep my guard up, because a lot of times you think you cool with people, but you're not. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that experience taught me. And then our third captain, or my third track team captain when I was in school, he did a little bullshit to like let me know that I wasn't on the team. You know, like what he would do is, like, with him being the captain, he was in charge of like passing out the gym bags, right? Because when we got ready to go to a meet, he would have to get with the equipment manager to get the bags, and he would have like the list of people or whatever, and then he handed out the bags on Fridays, you know, and then when we were done, we had to hand the bags back to the equipment manager, you know, so they could wash the uniforms or whatever. So I remember, so I ran sprints, and the captain, like, he always made it a point that he always made it a point not to give me a speed suit, you know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't on scholarship. And he always made like this big, like, to do about it, you know? Like, he'd be like, "Theobold, you don't get a speed suit." Boom, he would just throw the bag at me, you know what I'm saying? And it was like a joke, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone kind of laughed or whatever and shit. And then what I got instead was, I used to get like I got the older uniform. Like they would give me the shorts, like the short shorts, and the and like the tank top, you know what I'm saying? But it was funny because I hooked that joint up, because they gave me like different colors. Like, I had like either the black, I had like all black, or I had like all maroon, but I would mix the joint up, you know what I'm saying? But then when he saw what I was wearing, and he saw that it was different and it was pretty stylish, then he would always like he would then give me the speed suit, because he wanted to wear what he wanted to wear. So it's like he had that kind of power, you know what I'm saying? But every week it was like he made it a point to like let me know that, I don't get a speed suit because like I'm not really on the team. You know what I'm saying? So little shit like that you remember, you know what I'm saying? So let's see, fast forward, trying to think what else. I think I covered everything I wanted to say on that. But then moving forward, you know, um, you know, like my first engineering job, man. I first got out of school when I was my first job was in Iowa. And I was supposed to I was supposed to have a mentor, that basically was supposed to like show me the ropes. Like I was supposed to be his Padawan, like in Star Wars, how you have like a master and an apprentice, like I was supposed to like basically my manager told me who I was gonna be working under, and he wanted me to get up on my C++ and all my programming skills because my mentor was gonna he wanted me to hit the ground running. And my mentor got promoted to be a manager on another project, and then my manager basically had to like go and recruit a whole new team. So all this happened before I even got there. And when I got there, I was the first one like physically in the building, in our area. And this team that he recruited, it was like a close knit team that they worked on another project, right? So they were working on like a smaller project, but they were basically they wanted an opportunity to get more visibility and to work on bigger shit, and this was their shot, So I was the outsider of that group coming in. So yeah, man, that team, man, like I said, they like at work, they did like a lot of little fuck shit, not gonna lie, you know. But outside of work, they were cool. You know what I'm saying? And what I learned from that situation is work, people that you work with, like I learned just how to keep work and like friends separate, Like I work with a lot of motherfuckers that I couldn't stand, but outside of work, you know, they weren't like as bad as they were at work, you know. But this first team I worked on, man, or the first team I worked with, man, it was just I'm not gonna go in on all of it, but I mean, you could tell they didn't want me on the team. And my manager, man, a shout out to my manager because he saw the bullshit and he politicked like he worked that shit masterfully, man. Because he was caught up in the conundrum. His problem was he needed a team to deliver on this product, and the team that he recruited, had some talent on it, But at the same time, he just hired me, and the team didn't want me. Like they did visible things to show that they didn't want me on the team, Like my one lead, like she would give me like the most dumbest, like mundane shit ever, yo. Like she'd have me like color coordinating a spreadsheet. Like she had me fucking around in spreadsheets, like just doing dumb shit, man. And then she would like scold me for not, you know, like she would make me like not feel like an engineer because I couldn't read her mind to like color code a spreadsheet a certain way. And I'm like, yo, I'm not here to do office work, bitch. I'm here to like engineer some shit. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't say that, of course, because I would probably got fired. But nah, they had me just doing some of the dumbest, most mundane shit. And then I remember when I worked on my set of requirements or my design or whatever, like she would always like tell me my shit was bad. Like I could never do any right. You know what I'm saying? And my other teammates, I was like, okay, maybe there's something I'm missing. So I would consult with my other teammates, and they'd be like, nah, these requirements are solid, man. Like I don't know what her problem is. So so one day, like my teammates were like, yo, they didn't really come to bat for me. They just were like, yo, these requirements are fine. So what I did was I tried to catch this bitch. I tried to hem her up. Excuse me. I tried to hem her ass up. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't my work and it wasn't something else. So I had another friend on my team, another coworker, and I got him to agree I said, look, let's swap work, right? I said, I'm gonna do my requirements, you do what you do. I'm gonna do my design, you do your design. And I said, hey, look, let's swap, and I'll put my name on your joint, you put your name on my shit, and I want to see, because if you submit this work and everything is fine and dandy and good, then I know it's not my work, right? So like he agreed to it, but by that point, man, she was already like out, like she was trying to get off the team, so she left. So we didn't get to see what the issue was. But in my review, I got like I got a fucked up comment in my peer evaluation, right? And one of the comments I got in my review was they said I lacked the ability to surmise the intent of unclear requirements, right? So you can read between the lines that's bullshit, you know? And my manager saw that it was bullshit, you know what I'm saying? What my manager did was he basically showed me the comments, but then he was like, look, I have another opportunity. No, he didn't say, he said, look, I need you on another project because I think that, you can help me out more over here because I really need your help over here, you know? And I got on the second project, and that project was, I did the best work on that. I did the best work. To me, that's where I did like the most engineering work on that project, because it was a lot of like problem solving, and it was fun, but like I said, I was an outsider amongst outsiders with that team, um then what else, man? Here's another thing, man. Like, one thing that I kind of like, that kind of gets on my nerves, is that we have this thing where people say, hey man, where you from? Hey man, where you from? Right? And people say, oh, I'm from the D, I'm from Detroit, I'm from here, I'm from there. Like, I really can't say that. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up in Laurel, Maryland is where I grew up, but I was born in Buffalo, right? That's why I'm a Bills fan. I was born in Buffalo. My folks are from like Buffalo, or the Buffalo area. Um, but I was raised, like I spent like from the ages like 0 through like 18, I lived in Laurel, Maryland, And then I went to school in Philly for 5 years, right? And then I lived in Iowa for 7 years, and then I lived in Orange County for 7 years, and now I'm here, right? So like I started comedy I started comedy seriously in Iowa, right? Like 2008 is my birth year in comedy. Um then But the first time I ever got on stage was in Philly when I was in college. But when I said I'm doing like comedy for real, it was 2008, and I was in Iowa. So it's weird, right? It's like when people ask me where I'm from, it's like if I say one thing, it's like it's not the whole story, you know? Like anytime you have to explain your shit about where you come from, nigga, you an outsider. You know what I'm saying? um, so it's weird, right? Because people know I'm a Bills fan, but then when they see me wear a Wizards hat, or when I say, I'm from Maryland, it's like, nigga, I thought you from Buffalo. I'm like, nigga, I was born there. Oh, right. So it's always this whole thing where I gotta explain where the fuck I'm from. You know what I'm saying? And that shit is annoying. Um, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Um, so and it's weird because if I say where I'm from with respect to comedy, uh, I gotta say Iowa, because Iowa is where I did. That's where I really got started doing comedy, right? But I'm not from Iowa because I don't. I just did comedy when I was there for work, you know. Um. So yeah. So yeah. Here's the thing, man. I wouldn't change being an outsider amongst outsiders for anything, man. Because like it's awkward, but it's like when you are awkward and you're like always on the outside looking in, it's like people underestimate you, right? And then, you know, um, it's like you really don't tip like if you're kind of like if you're off in the corner somewhere else, you know, and you're just that dude over there, a lot of times people don't really be thinking about you like that. You know what I'm saying? Which is perfect because that's kind of how like you fly under the radar and shit, and then when you do show up or when the spotlight is put on you, then it's time to shine, you know what I'm saying? Um so yeah, I wouldn't like I said, I wouldn't change being an outsider amongst outsiders for a thing, man. Cause like you learn how to be like self-reliant, you learn how to like, depend on yourself, you know. Like you don't like help's not coming, right? Like I developed that whole mindset of help's not coming, yo. Like I don't ask or rely on anybody for shit. Like if I want it, I gotta go get it. You know what I'm saying? Um, and also it's like, um, a lot of times I've seen people that are in circles or they're in certain groups, they gotta like do a lot of bullshit. Like they gotta like they don't really be speaking their mind. It's like they're trying to just maintain the status quo. And I ain't got time for that bullshit, man. It's like I'd rather just, you know, keep to myself and just stay on the outside and just build my own shit. So, you know, yeah. So I think what else, man? Like I said, there's probably way more situations where I'm an outsider amongst even with comedy, right? In this comedy game, man, I'm an outsider amongst outsiders, right? I have like comedy friends and stuff or friends that I know or like people that I associate with or I got associates, but it's like, you know, when it comes to like comedy from like a financial standpoint, like I don't need this shit. Like I do it because I love it and I want to do it. Um, so but I'm saying, but I'm like, here's the thing, I'm not gonna say I'm the only comedian with a job or whatever, but I mean, like I do well for myself. Like I really like, you know, like from a financial standpoint, like I don't here's the thing, I'm not a starving artist, right? So that's why I'm an outsider amongst comedians, right? Like I'm not I'm not couch surfing, I'm not in my car, and I'm not knocking people that do that, but that's just not my path. You know what I'm saying? Um so, you know, like I said, man, like I've always been on the away team. I've always been the visitor. That's who I am, you know? Um and as I'm like, getting older, one thing I'm starting to realize, man, is um and I'm glad for it, man, but I'm not being apologetic, man. Like I remember like being young, just getting dropped off and getting put in different situations that I have no control over. And it's like I have to either explain myself and I gotta like apologize for like being in this situation or whatever. But now it's like as I'm getting older, like I don't give a fuck, yo. Like I don't owe nobody nothing, or I don't owe anyone an explanation, you know? And, you know, yeah. So if anything, it's like I had to like learn over time how to just, you know, like speak up for myself and to have my own voice. You know what I mean? So yeah. So for all y'all out there that are listening, are you an outsider amongst outsiders? If so, how? Put it in the comments, man. Let me know. You know? I'm sitting here running my mouth in here tripping and shit. I'm trying to think of more funny stories, man. Like being an outsider amongst outsiders, man. Trying to think what else. Talked about 7-Day Adventist school. Talked about walking onto a football team. Talked about excuse me. I'm trying to think what else. Where else am I an outsider amongst outsiders? Um. Oh yeah, being a Bills fan. Shit. Like like everywhere I go, it's like people know I'm a Bills fan. That's probably one of the things people know me for most is being a Bills fan. You know. And it's weird. Like um when I'm out here, when I'm like growing up, or just in general, right? Like one of the things is I've always been a Bills fan since I was like 9, right? 'Cause my folks are from Buffalo and they pushed that shit off on me. Um, but you know what's funny is when I go to Buffalo, it's like I'm an outsider because like I don't live there, you know? But um, but with the BTA tailgate crew, like that's my crew, man. Shout out to BTA. You know what I'm saying? Those are my guys. It's like 5 of us, man. And you know, man, like I'm glad I met them because like I've been tailgating with them for like the past like 20 something years. But nah, like I said, I'm an outsider in Buffalo. You know, um, like I've been going, like I said, I go to the games, but only like really the only people I know like that are the chefs and BTA. You know, um, but yeah, trying to think of more funny outsider stories, man. But nah, that's the thing, right? Like if you're an outsider, you have to like always explain your predicament. Like you have to like explain like that's the shit I hate about being an outsider, right? Is you have to explain like who you are, right? It's like people just like when people say, "Hey man, where you from?" They can just say one thing, right? But me, I gotta like explain that shit, you know? Yeah, thanks, babe. She said the coolest and realest folks are the outsiders. That's right. That's right. Come on. But yeah, man. Nah, but when you're an outsider, yo, man, it's like you have to just develop some thick ass skin. Like you just gotta push through, man. You know. Um. Anyways, I think I'm about done. Talking about this outsidedness. Speaking of outside, man, it's hot as shit outside, man. So make sure y'all stay cool if you're in areas where it's hot at. Um, you know, right now, like I said, I mean, Theobold Studios is kind of cool. Well, it's not cool, it's kind of warm, but you know, I'm not in here sweating. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sweating crazily or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, man. Um, yeah, I think I'm done babbling. So yeah, one more again. AT is where it's at on most forms of social media. And see, I gotta get better at doing this, man. I gotta get like a soundboard or something, man. But you know, when you in Theobold Studios, you know, you gotta do it yourself, man. Why? Because no one is coming to save you. Right? So boom, here we go. Um yeah, like I said, man, every week, man, you know, pop in and trip with your boy, man. AT is where it's at, or you know, tripping with Theobold. Make sure you come check it out. Yeah, like I said, I gotta get better at doing this outro shit. 'Cause I'm doing it all on my own, and gotta make sure my levels not too high so y'all can still hear me talk. But yeah, man, thanks y'all for tuning in. AT is where it's at on most forms of social media for the 5th time or however many times. Yeah, man, that's all I got, man. And without further ado, I'm out of here, folks. Peace.
Let's go.
Caliente.
Tripping. Yep. Tripping.